let's talk Whoop 4.0. Whoop tracks everything, feels like nothing. No screen, no notifications, nothing but non-stop data collection. Wear it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wear it anywhere. It's very minimal and very lightweight and can be customized too. The more you wear it, the more accurate and consistent your personal data will be. So I got my Whoop approximately a week ago. So we are going to look at a week of Whoop for me. First of all, I signed up to a 12-month contract. So the minimum term that you have to do is a 12-month contract. You can pay all of this up front, which costs £229. When you do this, you save 29%, which makes your monthly average around £19.08 per month. You can extend this and do a 24-month contract. This costs you in lump sum £384. It gives you a 40% saving, and so your monthly payment is around £16 a month equivalent. However, you can just pay £27 a month, but you have to take that out over a 12-month contract. Within your Whoop device and your contract, you do have a lifetime warranty. So it arrived, and the first thing that I did was to unbox it. My husband had already had a Whoop for about the last 8 to 10 weeks, so I was a little bit familiar with its setup, but I got mine out of the box, looked at adjusting the strap and making it fit perfectly on my wrist, and then I went about sorting out the app on my phone and pairing the device. All of that was really easy. Considering there was another Whoop band in the house, my app had no trouble knowing that my device was the one that it needed to be paired to, and I could check this with a small serial number that sits along the edge of the Whoop band to make sure that I was pairing with the correct device. The app seemed really easy to navigate to begin with. There was obviously no data collected at that point, but I was just working my way around the app, seeing what different areas there were to look at, and just getting used to the feel of the Whoop on my wrist. You're meant to wear it an inch or so away from the wrist bone there, so mine just sits nicely in there and it fits really snug. You want to be able to get 2 fingers underneath, but not for them to be able to come out at the other side. I was really aware of it to begin with, I will say, and I couldn't imagine that I wouldn't be used to it, particularly that first night I was aware of it being on my wrist, but it's really true what they say. You really can't feel it after the first few days of wearing it, or really the first day of wearing it. I became very unaware. So then I needed to start navigating what this Whoop did. So you need to be aware that it takes 4 days to calibrate and understand you and start to make your readings personal to you. So to begin with, some of the data that you get will be in grey, and that's giving you a rough idea of what your data is, but it's also letting you know that that data is not calibrated to be personally for you yet, and so it is just a rough estimate. After 4 days, you do start to see clearer data, and you also start to see colour coding with that data to give you an idea of your activity and your recovery. So the first thing I'm going to look at is recovery. This was an area of the Whoop that I was really interested in, because any tracking device that I've used thus far hasn't given me a recovery reading or let me understand how recovered I am from a day at work or a heavy strength training or aerobic training session. So the Whoop decides your recovery on a few different factors. One of those is your HRV, your heart rate variability number. And this is the variance between your heartbeats, particularly while you are asleep. And it indicates really well your level of fitness and how easily your body is able to adapt to its environment and how ready your body is to perform. A higher number in your HRV can relate to increased levels of fitness. However, a lower HRV number can be due to lots of different factors. It could be overtraining, it could be lack of sleep, it could be illness or stress related. And you can perform exercises or things that can help with your recovery. For example, meditation or deep breathing, you can access and log on the Whoop app. Stretching exercises can be done as well to help increase your recovery rate and add to that overall recovery number. For me, this recovery has been really interesting. Before now, I've generally gone on how my body's felt, which, don't get me wrong, is still a really good way of knowing if you're feeling recovered or not. However, being able to get this number really does then show me whether I am able to work at a more optimum level or whether I need to rest or take a day's recovery where I perhaps wouldn't normally, and I would push through that. So I have found already, only in the first week, that information has been really significant and really interesting. And also, taking those rest days where Whoop has told me to has shown that I've been able to increase my performance the following day. So the next area that I'm going to look at is the strain area. So depending on your recovery, the Whoop will give you an optimum strain number for you to work towards that day. So if you're in need of rest and recovery, that strain number will be lower. But if your body is primed and ready for activity and it's working at its optimum levels, you'll be encouraged to work that little bit harder because your body has that performance in it. So then throughout the day, any activity that you take part in will add a number to your strain amount. This could be strain that you're doing, strength training or aerobic work, cardiovascular workouts, but also it does encompass the entire day. So it could be just general chores, walking the children to and from school or walking up and down the stairs, or even high stress levels that you may have at work will all add to your strain. Now, the first thing that I needed to get used to was that if I did multiple activities, I might get 11.2 strain for a run and I might get 13.5 strain for some strength training I'd done. Those numbers are not added together. Whoop describes the strain process as accumulative and not adding them all together. It gives you for the day an overall strain that your body has sustained. Generally, the metrics are 0 to 9 would be a light intensity day, 10 to 13 would be moderate, 14 to 17 would be high, and 18 to 21 would be all out. I think I've also really liked when I've woken up and it has decided what my recovery is considering the sleep that I've had. It then gives me that optimum strain number to work towards. And so possibly if I woke up feeling a bit lethargic and not really full of energy, and I don't feel like I'm recovered, because the Whoop is telling me that I'm well recovered and that actually I can aim for a really high strain number, I think that has given me a little bit more get up and go and given me a little bit more confidence in my body, and not just my mind telling my body how I feel, but actually the data that the Whoop has collected telling me how my body feels, and actually has enabled me to push myself more than perhaps I would have done just listening to my mind. Next is sleep performance. This is really interesting too. I know that I could wear my Apple Watch to sleep, and when I first got it I did, but I felt that it was bulky and I didn't particularly enjoy using it. So I very quickly gave up. The Whoop will detect when you fall asleep, and then it will also detect in the morning when you wake up, or you can go onto the app and click process. From there, it will then process that sleep data that it has collected and it will give you a sleep performance chart. This shows you your time in different sleep zones. For example, it tells you time that you were awake, tells you time that you were in light sleep, deep sleep, and when you're in REM sleep. You also get some information at the bottom of that screen, which is wake events per hour, so the average time that you're awake per hour. It gives you sleep efficiency and also your respiratory rate. It will also alert you as it's got to know you if any of these are really out of sync. Whoop is really clever as well, that it gives you hours of sleep that are needed versus the sleep that you got. So you are able to go into your app and put in the time that you need to wake up the following morning, and it will give you a clear indication of when you need to try to be asleep by or to go to bed by to get the hours of sleep needed. And that takes into account the strain that you've had that day, any sleep debt that you've collected over the previous days, and enables then for you to gain enough sleep to be able to work at an optimum performance the following day. Now, I didn't realise, but there was something new added to Whoop more recently. My husband hadn't had this when he first started using the Whoop, but I've had it for the week that I've been using it, and that's a strength trainer. Now, this is really a game changer. I have always felt doing my traditional strength training in the gym and starting that workout on my Apple Watch has never really given me a true indication. I feel like I come out of that gym and I've worked really hard, yet my Apple Watch is telling me that I didn't really do anything other than accumulating the exercise minutes. Now, the Whoop has this new advantage to it, where you are able to input the exact exercises that you are doing as strength training. You input your sets, your reps, and the weight that you're using, and then it will accumulate that information to give you a very detailed strain score for that workout. So the other activity that I do really frequently is running, and I have relied on my Apple Watch to tell me distance, heart rate, pace, etc. for loads of years. So now I've got something to compare that to, and the Whoop has been really great. I don't need to start the activity at all on my Whoop, I just start it on my Apple Watch and they both collect data. They both collect the same data in terms of times, pace, the maps that they create has all been absolutely exact. The only thing that's really different and is a little bit to get my head around is my heart rate training zones. My Apple Watch always wants to sit in lower zones through my heart rate, and the Whoop always sits higher. Now, this has been a little bit to get used to, and at the moment I'm sticking, particularly if I'm doing heart rate zone training, I'm sticking to the Apple Watch. Another really interesting part of the Whoop data collection is stress indicator. That shows when I'm in a low, medium and high stress zone. Another really brilliant feature of the Whoop, which I have always struggled with when it comes to other devices, is being able to wear it all of the time. So this device is meant to be worn 24/7, and that's great for most people. However, I do a job where I can't wear something on my wrist all of the time. So what really interested me about the Whoop was that there were several different ways that you could wear it. So you can buy underwear that you pop your Whoop sensor in, and you can also buy something that I invested in, which was a bicep band. So because I'm a massage therapist, I have to have my forearms completely clear when I am working on clients for hygiene reasons. However, I can wear something on my upper arm, which is what I've done. So on my treatment room days, I have just switched my sensor from my wristband into my bicep band, and that just sits at the top of my bicep and still collects the data. And charging is fantastic also. So you charge up a little sort of hood that sits on the top of your Whoop band, you charge that up, and then you slot that over your Whoop, so you're constantly wearing that Whoop as it's designed to be. So even when you're charging your Whoop, you're wearing it. They say that you should have 3 days of charge once your Whoop is fully charged, and I have found that to be correct. So how have I found my first week of Whoop? Well, I've really enjoyed it. I have found having that extra data is never a bad thing, particularly when it comes to recovery. That is something that I just used to go by how my body feels. And don't get me wrong, I still am going by how my body feels, but I also have that added backup of knowing how my sleep and my stress levels throughout the day have affected me, and then what I can expect from my body as a result of that. So understanding my recovery, when I need to rest, and abide by that recovery has been really insightful. And I think sometimes just knowing data is never a bad thing. However, there is a double-edged sword to that, and I think sometimes you can know too much. You may wake up in the morning and think, oh, brilliant, I had a great night's sleep last night. You look at your Whoop and it tells you didn't. And suddenly you go from feeling full of energy to perhaps a little bit lethargic. So I think it's really important when collecting any of this data that we use it to our advantage and we understand the limitations of it. And so at the moment, I'm just enjoying having lots of data, using my two bits of tech and just seeing how that's impacting my ability to work out, but also to respect that recovery period as well. I'm going to continue to do videos just to let you know about my journey with Whoop. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the description below, and I will look forward to taking you on my journey through more of my whooping.